Right, how many folks do we have in? 65, 66. There we go. All right, for those who are joining right now, let's get a thumbs up in the chat or an okay or whatever random word you want to use to make sure you can hear me. There we go. Thumbs up. Like it, like it. Where's the creativity, y'all? So many okays. You guys follow directions pretty good. How about your favorite fish species? Let's start there. Spice it up a little bit. Cliche. Look at all that trout. Come on, guys. Get more clever than that. Smallmouth. There you go. Smallies. Stripers. Cool. Kosa bass. Apache trout. Ooh, that's a good one. All of them.
I already have a favorite to John who answered steelhead in there.
We're going to give it one more minute until 5 after, and then we'll jump right in. The common carp.
Mark must be an urban angler.
Bass. 75 folks. Guadalupe bass. David, you must be in Texas or you love Texas. Look at that. All right, we're sitting at a good number right now. We'll let people continue to trickle in. We'll kick this thing off. I think you guys have all been waiting anxiously for this. So without further ado, we're going to jump right in. I'll do a quick introduction. My name is Alex Mayer. I am our head of marketing and product here at onWater. Excited to be here and talking with you guys today. We also have our team here at onWater. As you can see, some faces here across the board. Lindsay Kochka, Shane Stalling, Will Moore. We're going to do some introductions a little bit later across the board, but wanted to kind of kick things off with an actual poll, not just what you guys all pursue out there on the water. We're going to ask you all what your experience level is with onWater. And the reason we want to ask this, you're going to see something pop up on your screen here, is to more custom tailor this presentation to see where everyone's at. If we just have a bunch of pro expert users in here, then we're just probably going to talk shop and share fishing stories, but I don't think that's the case. So let's just take a quick moment here. What is your experience with onWater Fish? You've never used it before. You've downloaded it, but you haven't used it much. You've used it a few times, or you are using this thing daily. I'll give everyone a minute to choose their selection. And if you guys don't see the pop-up on your screen for the poll, it's a quick, clever little Zoom feature. Let us know here in the chat. All right, 30 seconds left to vote. Tons of newbies here. I love it. Clinton says, love the land ownership layer. Yes, sir. Keep it legal. I don't see a pop-up, says Scott. No poll, says Bradley. If you have multiple screens, it might be on a different screen, might be hidden behind a screen. If not, just go ahead and put your answers here in the chat, and that works for us. Shane, we'll close the poll, and we'll kind of see what folks said here. Shane is our master of ceremonies on the back end. He's that guy behind the curtain. All right. Download the app, but haven't used it much, 48%. Used it a few times, 33%. Use it regularly, 6%. Never used it before. Just here to learn more, 13. Awesome. Cool. Kind of what we expected. So I want to go ahead and kick this off. If you haven't already, please use this chat to discuss anything that comes up. Obviously, remain focused. I would normally, for any presentation, say, please put your phone on silent and sit on it. But given that this is a presentation on the mobile app, if you want to follow along as we're walking through some stuff and poke around in the app, we definitely encourage you guys to do that. Share here in the chat if you want where you're at. It's kind of fun to see if you've got your neighbor next door on this same thing. Next time you guys, we do a master class, you guys can have a beer or something together and watch it together. But cool to see where everyone's coming from. Woo woo to Washington. Love that. All right. We have Will Moore here on the call. He is our head of customer support and service. So if you guys do have any questions that pop up, he's going to be manning the chat and be able to answer any questions. If you guys have questions that pop up after this, there are chat functionalities within the app, or you can always just do the traditional means and send us an email, give us a phone call. This video will be uploaded after this this session today. So if you guys want to refer back to it, you can. And wanted just to say thanks to everyone who's joining. If you want to take a moment, you have not, for those folks, the 14% that have not yet downloaded the product, go ahead and scan that QR code on your screen right now. It's going to unlock 3 months free for you. And I believe we're going to put a redemption code in the chat that'll give you that 3 months free. If it doesn't work, Will's going to be your guy to get that unlocked for you. And then just so you all know, I know that you're here probably just because of the giveaway and the cool stuff, and probably to see Kayla here talk, not me. I'm kind of the boring one. We are going to do the giveaway at the very end. We're going to give away one item, do a quick Q&A session for anything that pops up, and then we'll give away the 2 big grand prizes. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and jump right in. Oh, cool. Supporting Project Healing Waters. Love you guys. All right. What I want to do is let's go to the next thing. So I want to talk a little bit about who we are. I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but for those that are new, obviously realize that onWater company is relatively newer to the space. We've been moving fast, growing fast. You've probably been seeing our logo all over the place and asking yourself, what the hell is this thing? What are they? And wanted to give you some background here. So we really have this belief that water is what connects us all and that everyone belongs on it. What that means is that, you know, at the end of the day, you can get pretty meta about this, but we're made of 70% water, right? And we all have the experience of being on the water. It can be transformative. You can have great experiences. You can have pure frustration. Mostly those of you who decide to pursue steelhead. The rest of us have good times. But then we believe that everyone belongs in the water. And I think this is really one of the key differentiators of our company, our ethos, is that we do believe in fishing access for all, right? So it doesn't matter your creed, your race, your age, your experience level, where you live, your species of pursuit, how you do it. You know, we do speak to a lot of fly anglers, but there's, you know, our friends on the conventional side as well. And we do believe that everyone should have a good time out on the water, enjoying the thing that we all love to do. So next screen. The biggest thing here is our mission is to be a hub of easy to access information. So we view ourselves as a company as more of a waylighter than a gatekeeper. We put our, I guess, money where our mouth is. All free users of our product get the ability to access fishing, access boat launch waypoints across the entire United States. And that's for the main reason of being that you should be able to download this app. You've got a rod and a reel in your hand and you want to go out fishing for the day, and you should be able to do that. If you want to get more tricky with it, increase your odds, get smarter, that's where a lot of the functionalities and features that we have that are behind our paywall, that are for subscribers only, come into play. Next, please. The purpose of what we're trying to do is really grow this community, specifically within the fly fishing community. Historically, it's been pretty exclusive. And it has not really been a champion of the idea of fishing access for all. And we aim to change that, right? We aim to get more people into this amazing sport that we all love. Again, whether that is fly fishing or that is conventional, we're trying to help demystify it, make it more approachable, and get more people to fall in love with it, as we all have. I think I talked a little bit about this one already. Want to get into, back up a little bit, Shane, this one. So the biggest thing for us is we believe in 4 different things. Go ahead, one more. Preparedness. You know, a big component of this product and who we are as a company is we believe, and one of our things that our founder has made an emphasis on as we've built our product is that safety. We believe safety third, but we really want to make sure that everyone is wholly informed on what they're getting themselves into. As you can all imagine, it doesn't matter if it's still water or white water or anything in between. Being on the water has its inherent risks, and so does fishing. We want to make sure that people are fully prepared and informed before going out. Access is also important to us. We believe and we're strong advocates for public land. It's a big topic in the news today, and we're strong advocates for increased public land access, as well as distribution of recreation in these wild places. The distribution in these wild places is a big focus of ours because of things like stewardship and conservation. We do believe that the more people that we can get out on more areas of the land and the water, the more areas and land and water that can be fallen in love with that people want to protect. And ultimately, when you protect those things, it leads you into our fourth pillar here, which is an experience. We want onWater to be part of every good fishing experience, but we also want anyone who goes out and to do this thing to have a good experience. So just some of our brand ethos here. Go ahead and go to the next. Before we kick it over here to Kayla, I wanted to talk a little bit about who is this for. I love all the questions and all of the survey answers here. I'm glad that you are all here. It doesn't matter if you are a beginner, if you are a guide. If you go for bass, you go for trout, you're on lakes, you're in rivers, freshwater, saltwater, warm water, cold water, it does not matter. We do believe that if you have that having a rod and reel in your hand is living the best life you can. If you're just starting to think about fishing, or you can't stop thinking about it, onWater is going to be the most valuable tool in your toolbox. We often get asked this question, mobile app space is crowded. My experience transcends onWater. And I think we've all used a lot of different mobile apps in a different space. And so you ask the question, well, what makes onWater different? I want to start with saying what we aren't. We're not a cluttered social platform. We're not just a map. And we're not just a place to go track conditions to tell you, hey, you should go fish today. What we are is an all-encompassing Swiss Army knife of sorts that supports the needs of anyone from a destination angler to your Rocky Mountain trout bum or your tailwater aficionado out in the east or your flats angler down in the southeast, doesn't matter. And our team is passionate about what we build. We build fast. We solve new problems weekly. I can guarantee you that the product that you're going to see today is going to look different tomorrow, and it's going to look different from a month from now, and it's going to get better and better and better. We move really fast. So just really high level on who we are. I think that's enough of me talking. I do want to hand it over to Kayla in a minute here. We are going to talk here about how to use onWater fish. This is a 101 class, so we're going to go through a lot of the basics. At the Q&A session, we can get a little bit deeper. Shane, who are we handing off to next? Is it Kayla? We might have lost.
We're going to Will.
We're going to Will. All right. Cool. I'm going to mute myself. Will, I'm going to hand it off to you, sir.
Cool. Hey, everybody. I'm just going to share my screen here. Give me 1 second. Right. Alrighty. How does that look, everybody?
We gotcha.
Cool. So welcome to onWater. So this is the screen that you will see when you first log into the app. And I'm just going to run through about 10 minutes just of basic features and what you need to really get oriented and start finding out where and when to fish. So most users answer or ask the question when they open the app, where should I fish? Where do I want to find a place? So I'm going to take you to one of my favorite streams, and you can search here. Penns Creek in Pennsylvania. So you can search for rivers and lakes in OnWater, and you can either search for them using a little spyglass or a magnifying glass in the top left corner. Or you can also tap on any stream trace in the app, and that'll open up the same drawer. So in this first page here, we have just a brief overview. You get a written description, some photos, water body specific fishing reports. If they're published by fly shops in the area, we link out to those and provide all the fly and tackle shop addresses and phone numbers as well. And if there's shuttle services that service the stream, we also link out to those. Moving on, for all streams that have USGS coverage on them, we include flow stations. You can expand the chart here. As you can see right now, probably a pretty good time to go fish pens coming up on Friday. Looks like they're forecast to get a bunch of rain in the area, which will be very nice. So scrolling down, you can actually change the source of where exactly this weather is coming from. We have weather resolution down to the square kilometer, so much better than your standard weather stations. If we bring this up again, we have these new conditions charts, pretty focused on angling specific conditions, so you know exactly when it is best. You got wind, barometric pressure, precip, humidity, and visibility for boaters on big still waters. Then also you can have a 10-day forecast as well. These are OnWater Plus features. We're going to go through a bunch of different ones, and I'll do my best to make mention of what is free and what is paid. But this new conditions experience is an OnWater Plus feature. So moving on, that is the water body drawer page. You also get your regulations here with state and special regulations specific to those streams or lakes. The three buttons up here are download. You can download offline maps, which I'll go over in a minute, and measuring distances between points on the stream, and then bookmarking and saving it to your favorites, which I will do now. Can't believe it wasn't bookmarked before. Okay, so as you see here, the main, most interesting and desired points for most anglers that they're curious about are fishing access points, boat ramps, and then flow stations. So those are the ones that are on by default. Fishing access, it's the green one. It's generally walk-in. You might be able to launch your boat from there. You probably would be inadvisable. But those are generally your walk-in and wade-in fishing access points. Boat ramps are exactly what they say, mix of improved and unimproved. And then flow stations, we have USGS stations and also NOAA stations, and we just integrated Texas and Colorado state managed stations. So more to come from those as we integrate those into the app. We are, as Alex mentioned, the only outdoor rec company that delivers all this access and public land info for free. So we really, really believe in that. It's built into our values since day one here at OnWater. So we take that very seriously. You'll never have to pay to find public fishing access in this app. I will now take a look at some POIs for y'all here. So this is an example of a walk-in fishing access point. Now you get a few key options here. Street view. Most of you probably have used Google Maps before, but if you want to get a boots on the ground view of what exactly this access point looks like, you can see it right here. I have a feeling a bunch of these people are lined up to fish. And you can just get a feel for what the situation is with access on any POI that has street coverage, street view coverage in the app. If you want to get directions, oops, you can tap on that and you'll get a route preview. And then you'll be able to select whichever driving app you prefer on your phone. And then you can also measure, which I'll do on a boat ramp down on the Susquehanna. It makes a little bit more sense to do that for a boat ramp. You can also get that same conditions drawer as you saw on a water body on a POI. So we're really passionate about precise conditions, so you can look to see exactly when to fish. So now I will take you on a tour of the distance measuring feature. This is a big favorite, mainly among a lot of people out west, but I use it just for hike and access out east.
And
Uh,
It
Will,
will.
before you go in there, Jay Meadows just asked a great question of can I use the app like I do GPS to set a route from A to B when I float rivers to fish in my kayak so I know where I am and how far I have to go?
yeah, totally. We do have a trip tracker in the app right here. I think that's what the question was referring to. But if you tap on that, that'll start tracking your route with a white dotted line, and it'll follow you around until you press pause, which that button turns into. I'm not moving around now, but that is, if I was moving, it would activate. So um, after you pause a route, you'll get an opportunity to save it. So yeah, we do. You can follow your location around. I'll mention the alert as well as I talk about the measure distance tool. So if you want to plan a float, you open up that quick action menu, tap on measure distance, select an upstream boat ramp. You want to try and get both points visible in the map that you want to measure between. It works best then. And then it automatically snaps to river, but you can free draw if you desire. So we see that's an 8.5 mile float between those two boat ramps. I can save this and then add it to my routes. And then if I want to reference that float, it's in my save tab here under routes. You get a preview, the distance away from you, and the total length. So great way to plan out your trips and to scout and make sure you're not on the water longer than you plan to be. I'll go back to that question and about alerts. So also a super popular feature, especially on unfamiliar waters where you don't know what's around the next bend or if you've missed your takeout or not. If you tap on set alert, and sometimes it is in the more tab here, other times it is on the bigger three buttons here, depending on if there's a street view coverage on or not. If you tap that, um, you will be able to set a geofence alert. I don't have my locations permission set up on this, but you'll get a push notification when you're within, I believe it's 1,600 feet and then 500 feet of that ramp. So you'll get a nice heads up uh, when the takeout is coming and just help you focus on the oars a little bit more than staring at your phone trying to figure out where you are. Does that answer that question? You can confirm in the chat. If it does, I'll just move on right here. A couple other things to go over in the quick action menu. There's 3 ways to create a waypoint in the app. So you can long tap like so. So just hold your finger on the screen at a place where you want to add a point. You can also open up the menu here, tap on private waypoint, add it like that. You can also say you're moving over from Google Maps or any other fishing mapping app. You can also upload a geospatial file in the settings menu. We take KMLs, GeoJSONs, and GPX files. So if you export those from whatever service you want, and there's a guide for this in the Intercom Help Center that'll show how to do it just using your phone. You can do that, and then it will bulk upload all those other waypoints into your Save tab under Waypoints. So that is a very handy way to get all of your old historic info into onWater quickly. I'll go over offline maps. Again, back to the quick action menu here. That top section is download offline map. So we have this frame that shows up, and you have a chance to choose your download area, and then choose whatever area you want. You can name your offline map, choose your base map, satellite, outdoors, or dark mode, your resolution, and then save it. I will go over the layers menu now. So starting with fish species layers, I love this. This is how I plan all of my road trips now, because I try and take a fly rod everywhere I go. So let's say I want to figure out where I can catch a lake trout in the country. If I toggle on one of these layers, this is an onWater Plus feature, by the way. This will show me where across the country that lake trout live. And these are watershed boundaries. So the darker the shade of this, the higher likelihood you are to find lake trout in this particular watershed. But you can toggle on multiple layers. So let's say I want to string together a road trip where I have a chance of catching lake trout and smallmouth bass. So the app will consider both of these ranges and then adjust. So as you can see, just a little more focused, and like the range came down a little bit, so you're getting the range overlap of those two species. So really, that's where I discover new places to fish now. And yeah, users absolutely love this. I get questions about it all the time. And we have well over 100 species in here now. We're always adding more. So that is the fish species layers menu. That is the lower layers menu button. Now I'll take you to the main one here. So starting at the top, we have 3 different base maps: dark, satellite, and outdoors. I'm on dark mode right now. Satellite, pretty self-explanatory. And then outdoors. I really like outdoors for understanding topography, because you get some contour lines here. And then if you view this in 3D, you really have a good feel of where big elevation changes are, where more strenuous hikes might be, etc. So I'll go back to dark mode really quick, and then we'll just run through some of the other layers. Public land, that's always free. You'll always be able to find public land in the app. I'm out east, so there's not quite as much. I'll head out west so you can see more tracks of it. Public land will always be free in the app. We also have private land and landowners as well. I get a lot of questions about private land access. So we're partnered with a company called Land Trust, and they provide opportunities to fish some private water if landowners allow for it. If that appeals to you, it is a great opportunity for that. And then more layers menu. Here is the My Content section. That's where you'll find the waypoints and routes that you've saved, along with journal entries, which Kayla's going to talk about soon. Weather. I love this. We have weather overlays in the app, and we try to make these as fishing focused as possible. So let's say you are deciding between fishing for carp or trout on a day. Generally, carp, you'll want sunshine. Trout, you will want clouds. This is a live cloud cover layer. And then you can drag and actually see where the clouds will be in the future. I think it goes up to about 2 days in the future. So definitely want to use this to decide where and when to go. And then snow depth as well for the Great Lakes steelhead anglers. That is key. If you've ever fished in Pennsylvania or Western New York, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Hey, Will.
Yeah, go ahead, Alex.
We did have someone ask if you could show how we got to those weather layers again.
Sure. What you're going to do is check out the layers menu here. It's below the 2D button. You tap that and drag this drawer up, and then it is right under the My Content section. It might be closed like this, but you just expand this, and then you have all these. And these are all onWater Plus features. And then I just want to hit a few more, and then I'll be done. These is essentially our map layers menu and legend. There's a brief little blurb about what all these icons on the map mean. If you toggle these on, more points on the map appear. And then we also have facilities as well, so non-fishing oriented stuff besides fly shops. Our partner conservation layers. You can see local trout unlimited events if you toggle that on. And then cell layers. So you can see where exactly you will need to download an offline map. And then this is across the country. So I love choosing where to download my offline map based on this map. So you know exactly where you need to have one off grid. Cool.
Very cool. Hey, Will, before you jump off, I do want to pull up one more thing. Can you go back to
Sure.
our top layers and toggle off the featured rivers real quick and then head back to Penns Creek?
Yep. Turn off that cell phone layer as well. I have to turn my waypoints off. I don't want to give those away. There we go.
All right, cool. Let's tap on Penns Creek again. And I want to dig into a few more details here. Let's go to see more on that. So if you could slow scroll through here, Will, there's a lot of information here that's, I would argue, is guidebook quality. That's going to give you a lot of information for net new waters you might not know. So for any of those that are looking for new places to go fish, we're going to be talking about the fish species that are found there, some of the data on those fish species, behaviors and diets, fishing methods and approaches, a lot of really valuable information. So when we go back to this idea of fishing access for all, like this is information that really helps people get out on the water. We're not going to tell you which stump to go fish on at what time of day with what kind of weather conditions necessarily. But this is going to get you out on the water and give you a good chance at getting out there. It even unpacks things like gear recommendations. So great for those beginners who are here, as well as some mild suggestions here on fly patterns you might want to try out, etc. And then we do talk about conservation, environmental considerations, safety considerations, nearby shops and organizations, and a lot of other stuff. So you're going to see this information for almost every single lake and river that you would find in the United States. And then, as with anything, we have a team that works tirelessly to bring this information to you guys. If you ever find anything that is incorrect, definitely hit that CS button here, which I'm going to let you show everyone where that is. Because if they ever want to chat with you about anything or find out your fishing spots, they should know how to do that. You want to show them the CS button?
Yeah, sure. So generally it's at the bottom of any POI or river information page. It's contact support there. It is also in this settings menu. So you just tap let's chat, and you can send a message to me. I will help you out as best I can. There's also some help articles here just to get started for you to browse as well.
Also, we appreciate everyone asking all the questions. If you are not seeing a response to your question, we are not ignoring it. I can see the chat on the side here, and our team is feverishly, I think, responding or figuring out how to respond. So if you have a question, please hold those to the very end, and we'll do the Q&A session to make sure that no one's questions go unanswered.
Cool. Yeah, any last questions before I hop and hand it over to Shane? Cool. Right. Appreciate it, everybody.
All right, before we get to Kayla, one more big feature that we have in this app that we wanted to share with you all due to seasonality, as Will just showed in the stream flow gauge for Penns Creek, because we have forecasts on our stream flow gauges, we can see that it's about to blow out pretty good. So get your fishing in while you can. In the west here, we're just starting to hit spring runoff. In the Pacific Northwest, winter rains are just about over, so this will be a really nice feature for next winter out there. But we have a feature in the app called MyWaters. It is your daily dashboard for river conditions. And so I want to take about 5 to 10 minutes and talk about why conditions are important for those of you that may be asking, why should I care? What is MyWaters? And then how to use it, how to add to it, and then a few pointers as to how I use it. I didn't introduce myself. My name's Shane Stalling. I am in Missoula, Montana, and I have spent probably the last 20 years of my life fishing between the Rocky Mountains and the Pacific Northwest. Throughout that time, I have become overly obsessed with checking conditions, to the point of where I find myself sitting on the couch looking at what's happening in Oregon, so I can either think, man, I wish I was there, or I am glad I'm not there. So I wanted to just go through a few pieces of MyWaters. So why river conditions matters. I think there's three reasons for why checking river conditions matters. One is for safety. This time of year in the West, we are getting spring runoff, which can make rivers very large. So both floating and wading can be a pretty big safety condition. So checking to make sure rivers aren't too big before you go could save your life. Second one is disappointment. Checking conditions can save you from disappointment, and not checking conditions can create disappointment. If you all want to add to the chat, I have plenty of stories of this, of forgetting to check conditions, going to the river, and finding that it is completely blown out and unfishable, or getting to the river and realizing that it's too low to even float and having to do those like out of service, quick try and change of plans. But generally, it ruins a day, which happens to me at least once a year. So if you have any good stories of that, throw them in the chat so that we can all laugh at ourselves and realize that when that does finally happen to you, you are not alone. Also, checking conditions matters for success. Depending on what river it is, what flow it's at, looking at the conditions is going to tell you where to fish, when to fish, and how to fish. So if you're looking at these forecasts that you can see on the screen I'm sharing here, you can see that this river, this Steelhead River, is looking like it's going to stay pretty flat and within some ideal ranges. If it's on the lower end of ideal, like I'm going to adjust how I fish. If it's on the higher end of ideal, I'm going to fish a little bit differently. But also for floats, sometimes in the spring, you might do a 16-mile float on River A for a day trip. And later in the summer, you might only be able to get a 5-mile float in. So checking conditions is where to fish, how to fish, and when to fish. I'm going to stop sharing this and pull up my phone so I can share with everyone why MyWaters was created and how to use it. While I wait for this to connect. Oh, do not stop sharing. All right, why MyWaters was created. Real fast, said I'm obsessed with streamflows. So I used to have my web browser filled with bookmarks, organized by state, looking at Montana, Oregon, Washington, Idaho. And when I wanted to look at conditions, I had to build this, and then I had to spend time for Montana going through, clicking into different rivers, see what's going uh, on the big hole, let it load, try and look at the gauge, and then also try and remember, is that a good or a bad spot that river's in. So you're 12 tabs open trying to figure out where to fish. For each one of those, they have different stages of good and bad and perfect. So trying to remember a lot, spend a lot of time. It worked, but we created MyWaters to eliminate the problem of so many tabs open and remembering what is good, what's bad, what's perfect. So going into MyWaters, you can find MyWaters on the home screen, bottom navigation, thumbprint, nice and personal. This is your information, not to share with anyone else unless you want to. I have a few in here already. There's one that is missing that I'll add. So we'll start with adding a flow station. On the bottom right, there's the add a flow station button. This is going to open up the map and only show flow stations. So as I zoom out, you can see flow stations all around the United States. For today, I'm just going to add one right in my backyard here on the Blackfoot River. Will already showed what these stream flow charts look like a little bit. Again, we are super fortunate with onWater to have these forecasts based on snow melt predictions and rain predictions. So I can see what the Blackfoot's doing for CFS, for feet, and see what the water temp has been trending. If I'm just checking out different stream flows to see what things are doing, I can move on and go back to the map. But if this is a river that I want to keep an eye on, and the very top, sometimes it's in the 3 buttons, but there's a MyWaters button. Tapping that button is going to give you a quick onboarding. So you can change the name of the river. Sometimes you might call it different than what it's called on the map. You can adjust the flow station name. If you're familiar with flow stations, sometimes they're big, long, and make no sense at all. But the real important part here is setting your ideal ranges. This goes back to the, is it good? Is it bad? Is it perfect? Where is it? So for the Blackfoot, generally around 700 CFS is when it becomes hard to float. And just because I know where the graphs are right now and to make the chart look good, I'm going to make the ideal high around 1600 CFS. If I knew the feet, I could add those. I generally mostly use CFS. And for anyone who doesn't know, CFS is cubic feet per second. It's based off of that gauge height, but a good way of thinking of a cubic foot is, since March Madness just ended, a basketball. So 700 cubic feet a second is basically 700 basketballs at every second going past you on the river. So every river is completely different as to, what that size means, but the measurement is the same. So ideal height, there's some rivers in Oregon that are most commonly referred to in ideal state as feet. So we have the ability for you to add in feet as well. And because the Blackfoot is a trout river, this set low and high temp is very important. As water's really cold, trout are not super active. So I like kind of a 40 degree is when they start moving around, eating more temp. But also when the temp gets hot, this is when you start talking about, catching fish can be lethal to them. So I think it's really important to make sure that at a glance, you're able to see if fishing is going to be good for the fishery or if it's maybe time to go carp fishing. So generally my high is 65 for trout. So when I save this, it's going to put it at the bottom of my chart in MyWaters. There is an edit button on the top right that you can push. And from there, you can slide down, grab your river, and move it to wherever you want. For this, I'm just going to move it up to the top. Hit done. And when this pops up, you can see my Blackfoot River streamflow gauge is showing at 2.9 feet, 1200 CFS, and 47.5 degrees. The bright green means that both the flow and the water temp are ideal. So just at a glance, I can take a look at this and say, hey, look, Blackfoot River, good to go. I can get in the car and go. If I'm looking to fish maybe 2 days from now, I can pop open this chart, and because this station does have a graph, I can look and say, oh man, I better get off this webinar and go fish now because it's about to blow out in a couple days. Or I can say, hey, Tuesday looks like a pretty good day to let Alex know that I'm going to be sick and get on the river while it's on that slight drop. So good for like right now need to go fish and also good for future planning. A few other ways to use this. I do not have ideals set for the Yellowstone, and the Yellowstone also does not have a forecast on that gauge. So a lot of times with spring runoff or with summer rainstorms, you'll get a plug of mud that's coming through and you're trying to figure out, what's happening with the river. So I have both of my Yellowstone River gauges under the Yellowstone River here at Corwin Springs and in Livingston. So I can see that, there's a bump of water happening at Corwin Springs. Let's see what's happening downstream. It looks like when you compare those two charts, that bump has not quite hit Livingston. So fishing downstream right now is probably a better idea to have clearer water. Additionally, I'm looking even more upstream at the Lamar River in Yellowstone National Park, where again, when you compare these charts, that bump is on its way down. So I know looking at Corwin, because there's no forecast, that bump is up and it's starting to drop as well. So in a few days, next weekend, that plug of mud might be through up high. Or sorry, this weekend that plug of mud might be gone. That's a couple ways I use this for time. Before I keep going deeper and deeper into it, I'm gonna pause and see if there's any questions on MyWaters, and then dive into journaling. And to make a really good segue for Kayla, there's a big question that always comes up of how do I know what my ideal flows are? Because when you're new to a river, no idea when you should go. A, it means that you need to call some fly shops, call some friends. But B, you need to go fish a lot. And when you go fish, super important to keep a journal. And on that note, I'll pass it on.
Thank you, Shane. Yeah, that was super helpful and a great segue as well, because I'll dive into it more of why the CFS is important in the journaling aspect of it and how you can reference it. But just a little welcome. I'm really stoked to have you guys all here. I'm Kayla Lockhart. If you're not familiar, I'm an onWater ambassador, but I'm also just somebody who really is excited about this resource. It's like having a little guide in your pocket. It is incredible to incorporate into your fishing, and it definitely can help you just be a better angler for all of your waters, whether they're home, new, or you're sharing them. And to dive into the journal, I would love if you want to throw it in the chat if there's anyone that uses a journal or has used a journal in the past, or maybe just has aspired to use a journal. I personally grew up using a journal. Back then, my grandpa called it a fishing log, but same. But I remember when I was the first time I was catching bass and muskie and pike in Minnesota, and I would want to keep record of it. And so my grandpa gave me like an old vintage Boy Scout journal, and I would just use a hand paper one. But as I progressed in fishing and got older, I found that I would constantly be aspiring to continue that, but with life and how busy you get, I would end up like leaving it at home or misplacing it. And so I even like made my own journal out of maybe if someone's been following me for a long time, this would have been like 2017, and I sold these little paper journals that I would print at home, and I fold them up and staple them, and I shipped out like dozens of them. So I know that there's other people out there like me that like to keep a log, but since I have found the onWater app, it has definitely been so helpful, because almost every time I always have my phone on me, like obviously everyone does, and it's really helpful to just have it in your pocket. You can quickly just add the journal entry and have that reference and have it organized. You're not flipping through pages. It's really incredible. So that being said, I'm going to dive in and share my screen and show you guys some fun features of the journal app. So just bear with me for 1 second while I get my screen pulled up.
Awesome. There's a poll that's on the screen that asks, how often do you journal, if anyone does? Kayla shared that she had used pen and paper for a long time. What else do you guys use? Do you use notes in your iPhone? Do you write, with a Sharpie on your hand? What's your... Right. Shane, let's close that poll.
All right. Don't look at where I'm at, guys. So I opened my onWater app and just want to make sure everyone can hear me all right before I dive in too much. Just send a chat if there's any issues.
Yeah, Kayla, the poll respondents here, they say 53% of people have never journaled, but they want to. 33% say sometimes, I wish it was more. And only 9% say after every trip, and 5% of people say they're not interested.
Oh, that's awesome. Not very many. Well, if
Yeah.
I'm not interested, maybe I can convert y'all. Yeah, everyone's teach their own, but I love it. I've always loved journaling and being able to have a reference.
Kayla,
It's
real fast. Sorry, I wanted to jump in there too because this poll is awesome. I'd be really curious to hear from the people in the not interested, why not? And then B, and maybe you'll change your mind, Kayla, but B, the people that sometimes I wish it was more or never, but I want to. What would make you journal more?
Mhm. Yeah, that's a great question, Shane.
I'm gonna leave that very open-ended, but what would make you journal more?
Yeah, and I can relate to like I've been flowed with journaling. I got into a rhythm that even when it was on my home waters, I would drop off doing it because I'd fish the same spot and I didn't really think that it was benefiting me. But one, I realized when I got back into the rhythm of doing it, even if it's a spot that I would, go to after work all the time, I'm really fortunate that I have access to a lot of rivers close by where I can fish after work. But I've noticed that it just has made me more present as a person and in my fishing journey, which has really given me a better appreciation for one, the access that I have. Like we're so lucky to have these public lands and to be able to fish them, but it also just being present and not, you know, being so, I guess, you're caring too much about the fish sometimes. Like you can get caught up in your head, is what I'm getting at. And so when I can sit back and after, if I don't catch a fish and I still journal about it, I leave that experience always walking away with having a better time on the water versus like, oh, I didn't catch anything. The fishing was terrible. Like, oh, I should have done XYZ instead tonight. I'm somebody that has a lot of hobbies and fly fishing isn't just the sole hobby I have. And that's my biggest issue is like, oh, should I go dirt biking or should I go mountain biking or should I go fly fishing? And so I've learned that having that journal in my pocket where the fishing is slow and I take the time to just write about what I noticed, and it causes you to, just look at the river and where you're fishing in a different light. And I definitely am somebody that is a big advocate for it, but I could talk and romanticize it all day. I'll just dive in though, because I don't want to keep you all too late. So you open the onWater app, you can see the bright white menu bar at the bottom, and that's where you're going to access your journal. And so as you can see, I got my feed here. And with that, I will start it off by just showing you, you can alter this feed by filtering right here, which is I love this feature and it's really fun to be able to change it to species is what I usually like it as. And it's a really great tool. A little fun tip is if you're like sharing a fishing story and 9 out of 10 times you want to be able to prove that you caught that fish. And so if, I'm being like, oh, I caught this redfish and it was insane and blah, 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 blah. And they're like, yeah, right. And so then you can just go by the species, open up the photo and be able to have that reference instead of going through the 20,000 photos in your iPhone album. That's a really fun feature. But let's go ahead and add an entry. And so there's a yellow button at the bottom right. You'll click that to be able to add your photo, or if you're in the moment, take the photo. And so we'll do that. And I'm just going to select that one right here. And so I have my location and everything turned on in my phone. And so it's incredible. This app is a genius. It pulls the location, the date, the time. Clearly the time was a lucky time for me. I'm just kidding. So, and you can scroll down. The measured length is a fun feature if it's something that you care about. The beauty of this journal is that you can curate it to however you want. This is your personal journal. It's not, shared across the app for thousands of people to view, which is incredible. And that's also a question I get a lot is people think that this is shared with people and it's not. This is just your personal journal. And when you scroll down to the fish information, you can see that the brown trout was already typed out. I did not do that. That was just the app is a genius and it knew that it was a brown trout, which is pretty cool. And the first thing that I go to is the gear used. I never skip this. Again, this is curated to however anyone would want to use this. You can put as much information and get as technical as you want. Or if you just want to document the photo and the location and the date, you could just do it as simple as that. That's the beauty of it. So you can type out, this is typically how I like to do it. And again, it can be curated to however you want. So you would, oh, sorry, typo, but that's okay. I pretty much keep it pretty simple. If it's technical and like, I'm at a Spring Creek and I use like 7.5x, then maybe I'll put in the tippet information. But I just put the broad, if the sinking line, the fly I used, it's perfect. And that way, if I go back, I know what worked. And as we scroll down, we can come to the water information. Shane talked perfect about this and why flows are important. And again, if you don't remember, the CFS is cubic feet per second. So now I can know, like, based off of this catch, where I caught it, the time I caught it, and what the flows are. And so if I wanted then to go back of what Shane was talking about and save that to the MyWaters, this is a great tool and resource to be able to have a track record of your catch and your flows. The drop down right here is water clarity. Obvious, I shouldn't say obvious. Water clarity is incredibly important for fishing. And this drop down, you can select clear, opaque, cloudy, and obviously this is, a great tool to know with the flows what the water clarity was too. It's super important to know that, fish will hold in different areas when they are not feeling safe, when the flows are too high. They're going to be holding on maybe the banks. When the flows are really low, they're going to be around structure or deeper pools. And so it's really important, in my opinion, if you're somebody that wants to keep a record of your catches and then be able to use that information for future trips on watersheds. So the CFS, which, you can learn about a river so much through that and how it fishes. And especially for trout specifically, they will react so differently with a river and how it's flowing. And so, like I said, the high river, they're going to push on the banks. Low river, you're going to find in more holes. So I highly recommend people use that. The weather conditions, depending on if the information in the data is available, the app can auto detect and auto input that. I definitely like to use this feature. I know that it was sunny and around 70, but you can always look this up if you want to be super technical and specific. And then it brings you down to the notes part. And this is where I definitely take probably 10 to 15 minutes. And I personally liked this aspect of it. Sometimes if I brought somebody to the river for the first time, I'll put notes about it. If I saw certain hatches at a specific time, then I will keep a note about that. You can, again, get as technical as you want, but the notes information is a great reference for me, and especially for the certain time of day. If I notice a hatch or a specific location that I wanted to keep a note of, this part is really beneficial. And if you guys have any questions too, please put them in the chat. I have it pulled up, and so I'm kind of reading through them as I'm going. But that is in a nutshell, like how quick it is too, because the app pulled a lot of the data. I got through that within, seconds, essentially. It was really quick. And to end that, you would just save it. And then it's right there. I obviously have that one already saved. I just did this for the trial of it, but it's really a great feature.
And Kayla, why don't you talk a little bit, like when you were mentioning, being able to look at this and learn from it, when you're not on the river and you're not out fishing, but let's just say you're at home, weather's crappy, you're daydreaming about this. You can tap into these and like go back and review that information. You can see where it is. You can maybe, triangulating, e-scouting your way to your next spot, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great point. And also like something I don't always log if I catch something. Like I don't prominently only use this for the catches. It's a great benefit to have that, but there's so many other reasons that you can keep a journal or a log. One tip that I really love to share is if I'm floating a river specifically too, I will make a note, and sometimes I'll notice like, at a certain flow, a giant rock is sticking out, and I'll take a quick photo. And when I'm off of that float, or if I'm not rowing, I'll I'll add that into my log. The photo's just a rock, and it will be like this location, this flow, make sure you go river left. Stuff like that is really beneficial also with this app too, because it has that live data capability and be able to pull your location and the flows. That's just the best thing about it. I know that that people don't always like to keep their catches as a record because they want to, just the fish, and which is great, but there's so many other reasons why you can keep a log for just the conditions alone. And that is something it will just enhance your trips every time, in my opinion.
Yeah. Carl asked a really good question here. He says, so adding old photos, is it pulling current conditions, the date you added the photo, or historic conditions, the date and time the photo was taken? It's a great question.
It is a great question. And so obviously, like with this photo that I added, for example, it put August 4th because this is an older photo. I caught this a while ago. So it pulled the data that was attached to the photo. I'm not an IT wizard. I don't know how that all works. I just call it like little genius in my pocket. But your phone can track like your location. Obviously, everyone knows that. And so, yeah, it's metadata. I don't know. That's what Robin said.
Exactly. It's gonna pull the weather, the water information, as well as location information from the metadata that was captured when the photo was taken. So yeah, it's all 100% accurate. And I think one of the cool things here is, when Shane was talking about MyWaters and setting those ideal conditions, the beauty here is you can, when you're capturing this information, you can go back and you can look and see what were those flows. Oh, it's 442 CFS. That's awesome. Well, guess what? That flow station that I'm watching on the Bighorn, I'm going to go set, potentially my flow range to at least have that CFS in there, thus increasing the odds that the next time I go out, I'm going to have just as awesome of experience, potentially. Understanding there's many variables that go into this. I do want to also touch on a question that Peter McGuire had asked. And I'm going to scroll back up here and repeat what his question was. He says, does it use AI to measure the fish? That is a great question and a very relevant question in this day and age where it's hard to know what's even real these days, right? Something that's really awesome. If you guys have been following, for those who've been following our conservation efforts and the work that we've been doing with Trout Unlimited and the Trout Spotter program, one of the reasons why we are an exclusive partner with Trout Unlimited and the work that they're doing on that Trout Spotter program is specifically because, and here you go, drum roll please, onWater holds the patent. We just recently received the patent from the USPTO office for functionality that allows the length of currently a trout species to be measured via the AI engines that we have built. That are proprietary to us. And sneak peek, you guys are going to see this coming out within the next short bit. Right now, what we're trying to do is we've been focusing the efforts on supporting our conservation partners. So these are departments of Fish and Wildlife, as well as organizations like TU, refining and getting that data to be within statistical significance so that way the data is usable by those partners. And unfortunately, the sad news here is when we roll this out, we do aim to crush the fish stories, as sad as that is. We'll be able to hold you accountable to how long that fish is. So something to look out for. You guys are all sneak peeks to hear that first. But yes, Peter, great question.
Yeah, and the other question was, do you have to have a photo? And in case they didn't see Shane's response to the onWater team, when you hit that add entry, in the top right, there's a skip button. And so obviously without that photo, it didn't pull any data from it. So then you could, move this wherever you want to go and wherever you want to log something, and then you can proceed from there.
Yeah, great question. Awesome.
I loved Adam's response. All my fish are AI.
I did see a really cool thing up here. I'm forgetting the person that had mentioned it. I'm scrolling feverishly looking for it, but it does sound like we do have somebody who's a convert.
Yeah.
Weren't going to do it, but it looks like this is so easy that they want to do it now. So that's awesome to hear. There you go. one for one, Kayla.
Yes, that's all. It just takes one. And then that person will convert someone else. And then pretty soon we'll just have all these people journaling about their catches.
There you go. There you go. I love that.
Mhm.
Very cool. I want to be cognizant of time. We've gone over and this has gone really, really fast. I do want to see if there's any last questions here for Kayla before we move into just a general Q&A with everyone. And right before we jump into that general Q&A and when Kayla's wrapped up, we're going to do our first giveaway.
Yeah, while people are if they have any questions putting in, there's just one last feature that I really love is when you are on your explore page, it will, all these little net icons that are white are where I've kept a journal log. So if you are looking at your map and you just want to see the locations that you've recorded catches, you can look at your journal entries through that little icon, which is that little white net logo. Just one fun more tip that to share
Very
with you
cool.
all.
And I want to call this out. David, you asked a great question. It was answered, but I'm going to verbalize it here. He says, is this only a trout app? When do you cover other species? I think it's very important to say this is not just a trout app.
Yeah,
This,
you can. Yeah, I have other species right here.
yeah, exactly. Redfish, northern pike, carp, etc. So the species identification that you saw that happened in the journaling will cover 107 species. And then additionally, when you are looking at the water body description cards and we're talking about fish species there, you're going to see everything from warm water species, cold water species, fresh, salt, etc. And will only continue to expand. So yes, this is for all species. Great question.